Hello, everybody. My name is Benny, and I'm the Fool's Apprentice. Today, we're going to go over Lisa's lesson number 6 of the Swords suit. We were going to be going over Ace through 10, and this is a video a long time coming. Again, it's been a while since I posted, so I'm actually dedicating today to getting all the rest of the lessons done and then creating videos and posting them so they can come out on Sundays and Wednesdays. So that's the go. I, I live in Texas, and the weather changed like this. We were in the 80s. Well, actually, we were in the 90s, and then all of a sudden, we were down into the 60s and 50s and 40s, and I got sick. Um, so the last few days, I've been in bed. However, I'm starting to feel better. I really couldn't record this video because I was coughing like crazy, and and if you've seen a few of my other videos, allergies have been really kicking my butt. And one of the ways that it presents itself is through having an itchy throat, very hoarse voice, coughing nonstop. So that hasn't changed, but it's better than it was yesterday and the day before. It was awful. Like my abdomen is sore from all the coughing I've done. But it hasn't stopped me from being very passionate about learning the tarot. I have a couple other things going on in my life that I'm really excited about. I'm trying to figure out if it's one of these things that I want to include everybody in, like what's going on, or do I just want to focus on the cards? I'm not sure yet, but we're just going to stick with what we know, and it's the cards right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip the camera over, and we're going to go over the suits of swords, the suit of swords, something like that. See you in a second. I'm going to flip it over. All right. Okay, I'm back. So Lisa continues to be amazing. She is so good at really explaining very clearly why she picks the words that she does. And I absolutely continue to love the fact that she's very clear about making sure that you are absolutely comfortable with the words that you choose for each card. She gives you an explanation of why she picked, let's say, clarity for the Ace of Swords. But she really wants you to be comfortable with the word that you choose for that card, and she's a-okay with you not choosing this particular word that she chose. She'll give you the reasons why it fits so well, why it's such a broad word for this particular card. But I started to realize that as I struggle with some of the words with the cards, I'm starting to realize that it is because it doesn't feel right for me. It doesn't fit. It doesn't feel comfortable. And so when she talks about you want this card to feel right for you, that's exactly what I struggle with sometimes, because I want to pick all her words because frankly, she's amazing and she knows what she's doing and she's been doing this for years. I want to use every single word that she decides to use for a card. But I'm not her. And she's smart enough to let us know that we have to choose our own words that fit right. It has to be a good fit. And so again, some of these words are different than the ones that she picked. So, the Ace of Swords. So she really talks about it, that this particular word, clarity, fits this Ace of Swords very clearly. Because since the Ace of Swords really deals with the mind, she really thinks like when you have a clear thought, an epiphany, something that comes up, and there is just no hesitation in that thought, it's very clear. And so the Ace of Swords is this beginning of an idea, a thought that's very clear. And so for her, clarity came up. And I like this idea compared to the Rider-Waite-Smith, which is a sword that comes out of a cloud. Here it's coming out of a lake. And for me, the clarity is actually kind of interesting when it comes to envisioning this card outside of the lake, because underneath it's not very clear. And so for me, that it's kind of is an idea of, ideas that are kind of lingering, that are you're kind of processing about, that you're wondering if this is a good idea, if this is something that should really be held on to. And then when an idea comes clear as a bell, like this is it, it comes up and it shows itself very clearly. And I love that there's this little shiny moment right here where the light reflects off the sword. Like, this is it. I just love that. So that really works well for me. Now, one thing I do like about this deck right here in showing us the meaning of the word. So in the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, you see a woman holding two swords, and she's contemplating a decision. My understanding, right? But in the Druid Craft Tarot, which I still can't remember the title of this darn deck, I had to pull out the box from under some books so I knew the name of the title. One day I'm going to get it. It's clearly showing that there's a decision that needs to be made, but it is a dilemma, because it could be it could be three things. It could be two very good choices, and so which one do you choose? It could be two very difficult choices, or choices that you don't want to make, and which one do you choose? Or it could be choices, but you don't know if it's a good choice or a bad choice. You just got two choices. And so what's depicted here for me is this idea that you really have to listen to your inner voice, to your intuition. So instead of clearly looking at everything, she's blindfolded. And she's like closing herself off to every kind of influence by her arms being crossed, and then just really looking deep within and listening to that voice to lead her on the right path. And frankly, this is a dilemma. And that's why she chose this word, dilemma. And for me, that's magic for this particular card. Very clear. You've got a decision to make, and it's one that cannot be made just on intellect alone. You're really going to have to sit with it and make the best decision that you can, and work with it, whatever the outcome is. Now, Lisa spent a lot of time on this card in this lesson. And what I really liked that she did was she really talked about the traditional meaning of this being heartache or heartbreak, because there's the heart with the three swords. And she really emphasizes in this lesson that the swords are about the mind, not about emotions, which I thought was amazing. And because and I've never really thought about that, because if you think about that, really emotions is the cups and those feelings that break up. And so for her, it was like, how do I take that same concept of heartache and apply it to the mind? And it really was about lessons learned from the heartaches that occur in your life. And I was like, bam, yes, perfect. And really that, and as you can see, there still is the heart. It's a stone. And with the bark really pulled off this tree. And Lisa talks about, like, if it's a scar or a doorway. But for me, it really is this idea, because when you take bark off of a tree, it is a scar, but it lasts forever. You'll always be able to see it. So I think it's a lesson that's going to be learned that will withstand your lifetime. Now, the lesson can be good or bad. But it's a lesson you're going to get from experience, and experience only. And it's only going to come at a high cost. Like, this lesson that you're going to learn, you're going to be shedding some blood over it. And that not for real, but the concept. You're not going to leave unscathed. So I really like this idea of the Three of Swords being a lesson that you're going to learn from a very difficult situation, to include heartache. Like, if you're in love, you're about to be, You ask somebody to get married, and boom, they say no, and the relationship ends. There is a lesson. Frankly, I think there are multiple lessons that are to be learned. But this card, this word works really, really, really well together for me. And I love that she really took the time to explain that. So the Four Swords. Oh, my hands are all over this. Sorry. So I wanted to look pretty, but it has to get messy first. Um, so here she really talks about this not being really rest, but a respite. Um, and a respite, it's really about taking time from hard work, knowing that you're going to have to go back and deal with that hard work again. And if you look at the progression of the cards, you know, especially the one from before, I mean, you had a hard lesson to learn. And now it's really time to sit and contemplate your journey up to this point. Think about, the lesson that you did learn. How are you going to benefit from it? How are you not going to make the same decisions that leads you into a situation that you're going to have to learn the lesson again? But also knowing that you're going to have to get up and move forward. This is a moment where you get to sit and be. And the sword is on your lap, and she talks it because it needs. Lisa talks about it being there because you're at the ready, which makes a lot of sense. Being somebody um, who has been in situations where things are really hard, but you have those moments where you could sit and rest, but you have to keep your guard up because if you don't, bad things can happen. Um, this makes a lot of sense to me having the sword on the lap because at a moment's notice you have to be able to stand up and fight again. Now the Five of Wands. This is another one that she really kind of took time to expand on and made some really good points that I really, really liked. So I know compared to the Five of Wands, the Five of Wands deals with, playful challenges, you know, um, having somebody at work that you're fighting for the same job, but there's no ill will at the end. Here, it's really about someone's going to win at all cost and someone's going to lose, and that person is going to probably will suffer from it in one way or another. It could be just humiliation. It could be losing their work. It could be losing a relationship. The consequence is going to be great for the person that loses. And of course, it can either be you as the person that loses or you the one that causes that loss for somebody else. But a point that she made from something that she learned from someone else. So this is knowledge from a third party. I hope that was clear. Is that you win, but at what cost? And I was like, wow, I love that. And I'm going to remember that for this card forever. Because, sometimes winning, there, there are ways to win aggressively without not having to cause like irreparable harm. And this card feels like irreparable harm is occurring. So I'm a big believer of karma. What you put out, you will receive. Not necessarily tomorrow, maybe not necessarily next year, but at one time in the future, what you've done today will come back at you in one way or another. And I think this card for me really signifies that karma philosophy for me. So for me, this is a warning card of being mindful if you're the person holding the swords or if you're the person having to walk away from everything. But I really love this. I think this card is a very, very, very powerful card of the ones that I've gone over so far. So, the Six of Swords. I love that I have both views. This is a view that we traditionally see that really you're leaving something. But this card for me feels like you're going to something. This feels a lot more hopeful than this card, based on just the perspective of the image. And so she chooses the word of escape, which, considering what you just went through in, you know, the Three of Swords, the Four of Swords, and the Five of Swords, you definitely want to leave and find a better environment or a better situation for yourself. And so it really is about leaving one bad situation in hopes of finding a better situation in the future. Um, this feels like this card feels like you're defeated and you have no choice. Here it's about making a conscious decision to move on. You lick your wounds and you move forward and you find a better place for you in your situation. So that's how I see this. Now, this is the card where I chose a different word. So she used trickery. So when I see the Rider-Waite-Smith version of this deck, I can see trickery. That makes sense to me. I still don't like the word very much. I don't know why. It makes complete sense. But for some reason, deception feels just like it feels right. And as she talked throughout this video, and at the end especially, it's the word that just fits me for this particular card. And here, I don't see trickery because I don't see how trickery can occur. She at least explained how somebody could come in through the window, come in and steal this. And I'm thinking, well, if you're on the first floor, I guess. But I'm thinking this feels like a tower. And I don't see somebody coming in to get this. But I do see how deception could still occur. Like, I could see this guy trying to figure out, okay, something's not right. So he's trying to figure it out. Something's not showing itself clearly. And he's trying to see through the weeds. And so he's working really, really hard before he makes a decision. So I went with deception. As you can see, both these cards pretty much are the same. And here we go. I went with what she decided was being overwhelmed. And makes a lot of sense. It's really about having, it actually can be seen in a lot of different ways for me. So I could see that each one of these swords could be a decision that needs to be made. It could be choices. It could be a positive or negative. But the thing is that you got so much going on at one time that you're feeling very, very overwhelmed and you're feeling trapped. This is like triggering your fight or flight response. And there are three things that can happen with a flight or fight response. You can either stand and fight, you can flee, or you freeze up. And that's what's happening here, is this person has frozen and is in a place of they don't know what to do. They're afraid to make a decision. And there is a path, but they're so caught up in the moment and the emotions that they can't find their way out. And if they could just take time to analyze what's going on, they would be able to find the path they need to set themselves free. But in being overwhelmed and not being able to find that solution, you find yourself with having a difficult time even sleeping. It's something that is burdensome. And here she uses anxiety. And I get anxiety. That makes sense. Who hasn't lived this card at one time in their life, right? However, when I look at this and I reflect on those moments in my life where I can see myself, just sitting up, my head down, just really overwhelmed with everything that's going on and not knowing what to do, for me, it's anguish. It is heart-wrenching. It is fear. It is anxiety. It is everything I don't want to feel all at once. And I think anguish was just a very perfect word for me, um, and, which is another form of suffering in this moment. And I do see this person as suffering. And so anguish was really, really perfect for me in this card. Okay. I always wondered about this card, like, why so many swords? Well, it's because it's number 10, Benny. So here, she picked finality, and for me, it's a really good one. Um, but this particular card brings up a lot of emotion. The first thing that I think of when I think of a person with 10 swords on them, I don't know about y'all, but I watch a lot of series about murders and serial killers and like 48 hours, the next 48 hours on the TV show. And they talk about how someone was killed or stabbed like 15, 20 times and how it was very personal and passionate. That's how I see this. I see this as a very personal and passionate, vengeful, angry outcome. Because frankly, you take one of these swords and you put it through somebody, that person's going to die. And if that's your goal, then you've achieved it. But to have 10 makes it very, very personal. Whatever is going on has brought up a lot of rage. It could be rage that was built up slowly. It could be impulsive. It could come from so many different situations. It could be towards somebody. It could be towards yourself. Um, but finality, I mean, there is no way of getting out of this. If somebody stuck me with 10 knives, the likelihood that I'm going to make it is almost zero. It's possible, but it's going to be very, very rare, and it would probably be considered a miracle. So we will end up learning these court cards in another lesson. So this is what I've learned, and really, really loved this lesson. This lesson was so much easier than the last one. Really just struggled with one. So let me flip this over again, and then I'll give you final thoughts on this. 1 second. I'm back. So, really good lesson here. The big takeaway for me, there are two things. One was the Three of Swords. Really taking it out of an emotional perspective and putting it into an intellectual perspective, because the swords really deal with the mind. I don't know why I never thought about that. For some reason, it's just really easy for me to forget what each suit represents, and this represents the mind and intelligence. So everything has to stay within that realm. And so when she really expanded on why this was more a lesson than it was a heartache, I was like, yes, golden, love it. And so I will always remember that. That's a card that I will always remember because it made such a big impact. And then the other is, as I've talked before, sometimes I really struggle with these words that she's wanting to use, or she uses. And it's because it doesn't resonate with me. And I think that's one of the reasons she continuously says, and I mean multiple times every lesson, from the first, from the major arcana lessons, is pick the words that fit you. Pick the words that resonate with you, not the ones that I choose, and gives you so much freedom in they don't have to match anybody else's, as long as you understand them for you with that card. And I don't remember if it was the last lesson or this lesson, but also really love, and it sticks with me, is that these words, when you build a relationship with these words in that particular card, it's gonna resonate with you. And what's gonna happen is when you start looking at other decks and looking at those cards side by sides, those relationship with words and cards, you will get to compare and contrast with two different cards. So you'll get to compare and contrast. And so I love that. That what I learned with this particular card is I'm going to be able to associate it with this and see if the word fits or if I get to expand the word or what it means. Because if I looked at this and used clarity, I can get an intellectual understanding. But when I bring this card in, all of a sudden, because it's in a lake, I have this deeper understanding because of how I explained these ideas that happen beneath the lake surface and how they come to fruition and they pop up very clearly. And so it provided me a jumping off place to really delve into the meaning of each card. And I suspect that's going to happen with other cards from other decks. So great lesson. Really happy with it. So hopefully you got something out of this deck. And until next time, I'm the Fool's Apprentice. Have a good day. Bye.